Yes. What I just did is I finished working on my outfeed table here for the next video in the series. What I want to do in this video though is I want to take a step back. What I did is I already did this with this outfeed table part here. The first part I built the actual structure for it. Then I let the glue set up on that and I brought it in my house where it's warm so that I could paint on the coats of water-based polyurethane. I want to do the same today with the leg sets here on the front and on the back because I'm happy with them. I thought I might have to change some things with them, but they look great in my opinion. Savvas, I can't say his last name. I forget. Anyway, I'll put his likeness at the bottom of the screen. Said on Instagram that it was starting to resemble a foosball table. So, I don't know. I don't see that. But, you know, the legs are kind of unique. I have to say that. And still leave this big open space here in the middle where I can put a bin straight underneath on casters that'll go from, you know, from leg to leg here, just slides right in, and that's where all the chips will fall from the jointer. All right, so if you watch the one where I made the legs, you'll know that I didn't glue them on. I just screwed them in place, and I'm gonna undo those screws, and I brought over the garbage bucket to set these end of the jointer up on. And what I'll do is I'll work on this leg set first, get it sanded, get it coated, and then I'm going to put it right back on again and then work on the back leg set next. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to sand this off. I also have a couple of locations where, unfortunately, the brads that I fired in to hold this together came out through the side. Being in a rush, you know, trying to videotape it and all that, that happens. I really want to be more careful driving the nails from now on, but I'm just gonna grind those off. I think I'm gonna sand them off actually, so I don't leave any scorch marks on there. Not a big deal because they're actually only on the inside on this one. Outside here is perfectly clear. Now, I do have some spots here where there's lots of glue piled up in the corner, but I don't think I'm going to worry about that. I'm really going to concentrate mostly on the outside face here that you can see. I'm going to round over the edges, you know, top, sides, and bottom so that it looks better, or as better as it can be. You might have noticed that there's a bit more point of view in the videos. I've got a little new little camera here. I was using a more expensive one before, but it was heavy and the stabilization wasn't as good. So I sold that one very nearly for the amount of money I paid for it. So that was good. And nothing like, you know, renting equipment for the videos. And I got this one. This one is way better for stabilization. Like it looks great. And it's also lighter. It is longer though, but I think that's better for actually for pointing it. So I hold that in my mouth like that. And the key to doing this is to not look with your eyes. People, you know, usually when you're looking at things, you'll move your eyes quite a bit to, you know, to look at different things. And you have to resist that when you're doing this. You have to move your head instead. You got to keep your eyes going straight forwards. And I find it helpful to kind of focus on the end of the camera here. That's why having it longer is good, because it's kind of like a rifle sight, I guess you could say. Gives me a place to aim so that, you know, I'm always pointing in the right direction. So my eyes straight ahead, and I can kind of see. I'm talking about this way too much. You guys don't care about this. So anyway, what brought this on, I went back and I looked at a video. I think it was the wooden switchblade video, and I did quite a bit of point of view in that, and I found that video to be a lot more dynamic than the ones where I'm just using a stable shot like I have now, or a static shot where the camera doesn't move. In the past, I've added camera movement to the footage because I'm shooting in 4K, and then I render that down to 1080. So that gives me quite a bit of leeway to move the thing around. But I get way too many complaints from people about the camera moving. It's like ridiculous. Have they watched any TV lately? Anyway, I'm going on again about nonsense. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this up on my table saw workbench here, and I'm going to sand this smooth, and then I'm going to get in there and I'm going to sand off those nails and any other place where there's a pencil mark or something unsightly, and then I'll start painting it. I got to move more junk. And I've also got to get my dust mask on before people start giving me hell for that. All my long distance parents out there. You know, I'm 51 years old, almost 52. Do you know that? Come on, Mom, I'm growing up already. You know what? Hang on. I've got this thing here, and this is a pretty good dust mask, okay? I bought this for spraying paint, and it had the cartridge filters on there, so I got these things here, and it works really well. But often what I'll do is I'll do this right here. I'll take my t-shirt and I'll put it up around my nose because I find that it actually makes a better seal around my pointy nose than this thing even here does, even though it shouldn't, because it's, well, you know, those paper dust masks are basically useless for me. I put those on. The first thing that happens is my glasses steam up, and I can't see a damn thing like to this distance without them, and then I'm looking underneath them to see in the clothes. So glasses steam up. Also, that means that there's a gap right in here, my pointy face. Anyway, so the key to wearing, using this, or the thing about it is that when you have that up around your face like that and you're breathing, especially if your head's down, you're taking air from a big area in here. So you got to look at it like this. Your filter area on these is pretty big. On a regular dust mask, it's really small. So when you have the dust mask on, that's that little area there that you're pulling air in, so you got to pull it in harder. So it's actually sucking, the filter has to be better, in other words. Whereas this one right here, it's really at a low pressure. So if you're pulling air in, you're pulling air from the whole area here, kind of evenly, and at a low pressure, a low velocity. So a crappier filter, like the t-shirt here, will actually work as well or better than the other thing. But you know what? I'm going to shut up now, and I'm going to put the dust mask on. Like I've said it before, sanding sucks. And I kind of did more on this than I actually originally planned to do, but it's all good. It doesn't take long to make it look good. And now I can find my sanding block, which is over here. And I just want to get in the corners here. Do that final little bit. Yeah, I like that. I like this plywood, actually. I kind of got a soft spot for the Douglas fir. I keep forgetting the names of things. Must be Mad Cow. Anyway, so I kind of got a soft spot for the Douglas fir plywood. When I was a kid, lived in an apartment, and like a deal my father made with the landlord was to rebuild the kitchen, and this is the stuff that he used to build it with. I can't remember all the details, but he did that in the basement. It was like a townhouse. and he did all the work in the basement, and this smell was permeating the house from this plywood. If you haven't smelled this plywood, if you have smelled this plywood, you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, so I've been attracted to it ever since, and I don't know, it's not the best stuff, especially not anymore. It's got way too many big repairs in it, and it flakes off way too easily, but it is not bad, I guess. It's good enough for this anyway. All right, I am being a little bit too particular about this, and that's the problem whenever you're doing something like this, is that, okay, this is the legs for my jointer. No one's gonna get down and look in these corners here and see if the glue is, has squeezed out. So I really don't have to scrape that out of there. It's not affecting it structurally or anything like that. It's not really affecting it cosmetically unless you get it in close. But that's what happens when you're working on something. You take a micro view. I don't know if it's macro or micro. Anyway, I'm going to say micro. You're looking at things in close. Whereas you should, in the back of your mind, always be thinking about, am I ever going to see this? Why am I doing this? Why am I wasting my time doing this when I don't need to? But that's what happens. And it happens with everything that you do. I don't know if there's an expression that covers this. Not seeing the forest for the trees. I don't know. Something like that. Anyway, getting in close like this, you see every little small thing that you'll never see if you're out further. That's my point. That's what I'm trying to get to here. Anyway, I'm almost ready to paint it. I'm going to blow it off here. I know I should be wearing my dust mask because there's still dust in the air. I'm going to blow it off, and then I'm going to go in and let the dust settle before I come out and paint it. Hang on. Yeah. Stand aside, focus. Ah! Jesus, attack me, you bitch. Motherfucker. Stand up already. I've got a can of outdoor water-based polyurethane. I actually bought this by mistake. Just grabbed it while I was at Home Depot. Without actually looking. I did look at it. I looked at it and I saw satin. And so I have it, and then I opened it up, and then I used some of it, and then I realized that it's outdoors, but there's really not much of a difference. So I kept it, and I figure I'll use it on shop projects from now on. So here it is. I like using water-based stuff ever since it came out several years ago. I do like the oil-based stuff for its wetting ability, call it wetting, is that it will make the wood look the same way it looks when it's wet, and it stays. Whereas this stuff doesn't usually do that. There's a lot of crud in the top of this, and that's one thing I don't like about it. You really need to strain this basically every time you use it. But I'm not going to bother here because it is just a shop project. So I'm just going to paint it on like so. While I'm doing that, I'm going to rattle on about a couple of things. I wrote it down here because my memory is fucked. First topic, I guess you could say, is the amount of videos that I'm putting out and when I'm putting them out, or how I'm putting them out now. Used to be I would make a video and then almost immediately publish it. I would like upload it overnight because my internet is not the fastest, and it's expensive, so I've got to pick my times when I do that. And so I upload it overnight and I release it in the morning, like the next morning, basically. But ever since this ad nonsense came around, I've changed that to a more scheduled approach. So this video that I'm making here, you may not see this. Well, you definitely won't see it tomorrow. Mainly because I don't want to release, even if it didn't get flagged for that crap, I wouldn't release it tomorrow anyway, because I'm trying to pace out the videos a bit better. A lot of people assume, because this was a widespread knowledge for a long time, and it still is, I guess, that if you put out a video per day, that that's guaranteed growth. And that's simply not the case. Simply not. You can see all kinds of examples of people that are doing exactly that, and they're not having explosive growth. I think the key to explosive growth is to start off really hot, like have almost a viral video to start with. And that way, everything that you make after that will almost automatically get pushed harder by YouTube. And so I'm here in the autumn of my years, I guess you could say. I haven't been on YouTube that long, actually. I mean, what, 7 years, 6 years. But you know what? That's a lifetime in this thing. So I'm here. And what's happened lately is that YouTube is simply not recommending my videos anymore. It doesn't matter what they are. They're just not recommending them. So I've tried various things, changed things up, but in a way that kind of goes against me, because people want to be seeing basically the same thing over and over again as far as content goes. And I'm the same way. I got to admit that that's what I expect from the people that I regularly watch, basically the same thing over and over again. Not the same subject, but the same style of video making, same style of presentation. And I really don't do that. I mix things up quite a lot, and it's mainly to keep me interested in what I'm doing here, because I gotta be honest, the woodworking part of it doesn't get my pee hot, man. Like, I've already done all this stuff before, so it's kind of old hat, I guess you could say. So I'm not, excited about painting this here. I find more, I get more satisfaction from making the video part than the actual project, is what I'm trying to say. So, and now I've just realized that I've strayed pretty far from what I opened with, and that was the amount of output and the scheduling and all that. So what I'm going to try to do from now on is basically do as many as 2 videos per week on my main channel. And I'm really going to be concentrating on that channel for the next few months, because that's the one that's been hardest hit by this lack of recommendation thing that YouTube is doing. Like, my videos are not being recommended at all. So they get those first few views from the subscribers, and that's about it. They stall. So I'm trying to add content to the main channel that will, first of all, bring in new subscribers that will possibly share the video. Because that's another thing that's not happening. I get a feeling that it's almost like like the kid in the candy store type thing. There's just so much content out there for them to pick and choose from. And it's like, okay, I'll take that one, I'll eat that one, and then I don't like that, I'll take that one, I'll eat that one, I don't like that. You know what I mean? It's not like before when there was very little. It's not like there were very little, but there was less. And there's so much duplication of content too, like projects. Like when I built my wooden vise, that was the only wooden vise there was, that thing over there. And that's the reason why it took off so well. If I were to make that same wooden vise, that same video today, it wouldn't do well at all, because that's been done so many times over and over again. So there's nothing new, there's nothing fresh about it. And that goes for almost every frigging thing you can do. So I'm changing things up here. I'm trying to be like this build here with the jointer. I am genuinely enjoying this build, and the reason why that is because I can take my time and do it the way that I used to do projects back before I even started doing this. Like that bandsaw over there is a good example. There's no way I could have covered that in a single build video, even back when I did it, when I had actually have more enthusiasm for it. It's just impossible. There's too much to it. It's like this thing here. I could give selected clips of it and do this ultra sped up video, but I wouldn't get any satisfaction from it. This way, I get to do it at a pace that I can live with, and I get a better machine too. Like this here, I wouldn't have time to do this if I was doing a one video build. No way. Unless I, built the whole thing over the span of the same amount of time it's taking me to do it now, and then released it, like did all that editing, and then released it as a single video like months down the road. And in the meantime, what would I do? You know what I mean? Doing it this way, I get a better product. And I think I'm putting out better content too. Yes, it's cut up. Yes, it's a series that you'd have to watch. But you know what? I look at it as like television, right? Which would you rather have Game of Thrones in a movie or in a eight season series like it is? Granted, the last season, season 7, wasn't that hot. But I'm not going to get into that. But you know what I mean. It's like a longer thing. My apologies if I'm not perfectly in focus, because this video is not about the cinematography, that's for sure. I'm trying to move this so that I can paint the inside here. I like this because it dries real fast, although it's not as warm as it could be here in my shop. I did increase the heat up to 10 degrees Celsius so that I could do this out here, because I've got no desire to bring this into my house and do it in there. I didn't mind doing the table because it was one thing small, but I've got to do this, and then I've got to put it back on the saw, or jointer, that saw. Table saw, that's coming up. I actually want to start the table saw before the jointer is completely finished. The problem, like I said before, about the table saw is that I need the plans done. But I've been thinking about that, and I think I kind of have a solution for that. And it has to do with, okay, I start at the beginning and I start building the table saw, and rather than have the complete plan 100% finished, I would have a portion of the plan done. specifically the portion that I'm working on, so that what you could do is you could buy into it, I guess you could say, kind of almost like subscribe to it, but it will be a plan. I don't know how I'm going to work this out logistically. Like, I don't know, but I was thinking that as the bill progresses from week to week, new parts of the plan would be released, and you would download that after paying the first amount to get the plan. You would be entitled to everything that came after, of course. And if I needed to make any revisions, I could include those into the thing. Like, that's a big part of the problem, is you don't see specific problems in the design until you start to build it. And then it's in the building that you'll often see little mistakes, and it usually has to do with the order of assembly. Like, you might not see it when you're doing the plan, but that part will be in the way if you're going to be doing that part over there. And to avoid it in the actual assembly, you would do the other part first, that type of thing. That's the usual problem that happens. So that's what I was thinking about there. I don't know if I'll actually do that, though. In the end, I might just start the build and then, like I've done before, work on the plan at the end. But the problem with that is that the plan is such a huge part of it, and it takes so long to do it. Your motivation is blown out because you're kind of burned out from building the project. But I'm also thinking that since I'll be doing it like the jointer here, I can actually work on the plan as I go, which I would be doing either way I presented it. And that way I can progressively finish it as I'm progressively finishing the saw. So, and then at the end, it will be all done. And then anyone that wants to build it can buy the plan and watch the videos and have the full virtual reality experience, you could say. It'd be like you're side by me here in the shop with Focus Master. How's that? Anyway, I'm starting to drift into silliness, and I've got this leg set done. I have to let it dry enough that I can sand it and give it the second coat. I'll put it over by the heater for that to happen, and I'll wrap this video up here.
Wait a second, are you gonna direct us?
Man, I will direct you to the unemployment line if you don't start back-talking me, okay, Cracker?
But we don't know what we're doing. We didn't read the script.
Hey, it ain't that hard, man. I filmed the motherfucker, right? Then I yell, cut, then I run the fuck out of here, go to my trailer, because I got more white girls in there than the first lifeboat on the Titanic. And they all want a part in my movie. And I got just a part for 'em.